Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to talk to my dear friend. She'll be interviewed today on our Conversations That Matter, and she's Shelley McConaghy. And I know her for years, and she's known as a natural therapist, but she has many talent. And I actually know her that is someone that who give really amazing healing. I know that you do crystal healing, energy healing, and you even been told by someone call you what's crystal psychic surgeon. We're going to touch on that one. But I know that you're in the healing business for quite some time, and I know Shelley through many different events, and and you always wear this beautiful blue. Like there's something about this blue, like the dolphin water, sea water blue, which I love. But anyway, it's a pleasure to talk with you today, Shelley, and. So in this series, I really like to interview entrepreneurs who have a business that really meaningful, purpose-driven, and and I know them in person. And I think the conversation we have, just listening to her story or background, what she offers, or the things that she do, may inspire someone that who may just need a little bit of a lift, or people may be in crossroads thinking what they want to do with their life. And essentially, it's about women empowering other women as well. And I think we're all here doing something that we think is meaningful, and I think it's nice to share what we do. And I love to hear from Shelley today. So welcome, Shelley.
Thank you, Sea Wing. It's so nice to be here with you today.
Cool, great. So first of all, I am really curious. So tell me a little bit about your healing journey. I assume you're not born healer, as in you may go through, some of us may have done, you may have other jobs before, but then something really changed, and then obviously you learned to become a healer and so forth. So, and then now you run your own energy healing business as a natural therapist. But tell us a little bit what got you into the path, and and things like that.
It started pretty early in life, actually, Sea Wing. I've always been really sensitive to the energies around me. You walk into a room, you can feel what people are feeling. I'm really sensitive to the environment, animals. I remember saying to my dad when I was about maybe 9 or 8, I said, I know what I want to do when I grow up. I
Wow,
want to
that's
save
lovely.
the whales and the dolphins. And he said, there's no money in that. You can't do that. I'm like, yeah, but that's what I really want to do. And so that's my logo.
Yeah, I know you always have the beautiful turquoise blue and dolphin. It's definitely your animal totem, so to speak. So, and I know that dolphin, I mean, I swam with dolphins in Hawaii, and I would say that's probably the most spiritual, enlightening experience I had. There was something, when you look into the dolphin's eye, I kid you not, and swimming with them, there's something about it. Like, I can't explain, but you felt that's definitely a greater power, like beyond what we know. And for me, it was a very surreal and spiritual experience. But I mean, today it's about you. So tell us, so you, since very little, and I know many people out there actually may have a similar experience, that they feel very sensitive of people's energy. They may even can spot lies, even though they're like three. And they have a very clear idea about people. And because they don't filter and they're intuitive, so obviously you're one of them. But then what got you to become a healer? So how was that journey? How did that journey unfold?
It was so from that point where I realized that I wanted to save the whales and the dolphins on the planet. Goodness knows what that will look like. But I then went on a holiday when I was about 14, and next door to where we were staying, which was friends of where we were staying, there was a gentleman who had a big garage, and he had, his whole world was in there. He had years of tools and crystals and all this amazing history in there, books. And so we would go over and visit and have a cup of tea. And he put a crystal in our hands one day, each of us that were there. And he said, just feel the energy in this crystal. It was a clear quartz. And I could feel it pulsing in my hand after, only a few seconds. And he said, that it's the same energy that is our pulse, is our energetic pulse of life. And it's running through these crystals just as it is us. They're just as alive as we are. And that just totally opened my mind. And I was fascinated by this energy, that this seemingly rock hard substance is as alive as we are, and that it's inside the earth, and therefore that's where that pulse comes from, within Mother Earth. So, you know, I went back to school and went about life, but then when I was in my very early 20s, I went to a crystal workshop at the local community college. I think it was just like a 1-day or 2-day workshop, and that was it. I was sold. That was the start of, I guess, becoming a crystal healer, because I was totally woken up to their energy, their incredible healing energy for us, and the connection that we just inherently have with them. So the teacher at that time said, "Oh, by the way, I'm about to start teaching polarity therapy." And I resonated with her so strongly that I went, I don't care what she's teaching. So literally it just cascaded from that one workshop into me becoming a crystal healer, polarity therapist, and then Reiki I also took on. So that was the beginning in my very early 20s.
Yeah. So what I find it so interesting is that, I mean, the whole, the world of the unseen, like the energy, about crystal, it started when you were really young. And for some people who have this sort of interest, you may become a geologist, you may become an environmental activist for the dolphins and whales, you may become a crystal healer. People may take on different paths, but then sometimes I think that's sort of like a divine plan, because it was no accident, there's no coincidence that you end up in this place where the next door neighbor is doing it, and then you obviously have an interest, but then you somehow will meet a teacher that you really feel like resonate with. I mean, of course, that when the student is ready, the teacher appear. At the same time, that when the teacher is ready, the students appear. It happens all the time. And I was just amazed that sometimes, I mean, of course, we have to go and take action. I mean, you have to go and take the workshop to start if you're interested in something. But there is a divine plan there. There's a flow there. We need to sort of take the part and get into the game where you sort of just go with the flow a little bit. I mean, you got to be clear about, what you want to do and what resonate or not. And that is a bit, for me, that's why I always talk about meditation or being clear, because sometimes you just need to know this is the right teacher or not. I mean, with that, so you obviously took the lessons, and then you became a healer. So what was the biggest change in you since you get on that path fully? Because as you said, like many of us, we have went through, studying somewhere and then taking a normal job or whatever. And then, but to take on this path, like, full on, what was the biggest change in your life since you embarked on this? I mean, I know that you run this business for a while now, so, but early days, what was the biggest change in your life?
Well, I was also working full-time during this whole phase.
Like transition?
Yeah, so I was working from the age of 17, full-time in an office, and, pretty dynamic environment, very busy, long days, from the beginning of my working career. And so around the same time, I think, that I went on this workshop, I was searching for something that could help bring a bit of balance into my life, because I was literally running on all cylinders. And I started, I think, doing yoga as well. So I would just do yoga at home. I just had a video and some books, and I would just do my own practice either before or after work. But when I discovered the crystals and started studying polarity therapy, I found a passion was ignited, which instantly brought about balance, because it felt like there was something really, really right about what I was doing. So it naturally took away a lot of that stress that I was feeling at work, running projects and doing everything that you do. So that for me was probably the biggest change. It automatically brought balance into my life.
Yeah.
So
I resonate with that sometimes when you find a passion, or your passion is there but it ignited, and then you see the path. It's just that so many of us, and hopefully that's for some viewer or audience that find it helpful, is that you may carry on with your life in a certain way because you think that's what we're supposed to do, graduate, or you study in some shape or form, and then you get into the work market, you do what pays the bill, but then something seems to be missing, or you know you're not doing the thing you meant to do. There is something sort of like you got your potential that you don't know how to express. But but I totally advocate people take the transition slowly and seriously, because sometimes we have false start. Like I did feel like early in my career as well that I have tried different things. I mean, I love the modality of healing, so I learned many different things, and but I ultimately realized when I became a coach that coaching was the way I'm going to express it and use it in the way I'm helping people. But I have taken a lot of different courses so that I came to a point where I know, you in a vantage point to say, yeah, I really love all this kind of healing. And when I feel not so great or whatever, I would talk to someone like Shelley. But I know coaching is my calling. That will be my expression. But sometimes we take false start, as in we don't know, so you need to find out more. The more you know, the more you don't know, so you need to learn more. And I'm advocate for a sort of slow transition, instead of like you just quit your job like this and then you dive into it, and it may not be what it seems, and it may bring more stress. But like what Shelley was saying, that I can imagine that you start to feel better in your life started to improve, and then slowly you change your transition, and even to decide like to do, you may have all the ability within you, but it takes some time to unfold them, maybe to polish them. I mean, I don't think it take like an instant to become a really strong, like a good practitioner in what you do. It must take years of practice. And I know you practice energy medicine, you do Reiki, as you said, and you're being called crystal psychic surgeon. So, I mean, you cannot be a surgeon overnight. It takes time. And sometimes some people may have opportunity to dive right in, but most of us take time for transition. But really be conscious during the transition to find the right path and the right teacher and the right audience. So that, anyway, surgeon business. So tell us, how did you get this title, and what do you do?
It is an interesting one, isn't it? I attended a couple of sessions years ago with a lady who was called a psychic surgeon, because I was really interested. What does that mean? What does that look like? What does it feel like? And my experience of that was really quite profound. And she wasn't using crystals, I don't think, from memory, but she was certainly very, it was almost like going through all the layers of the body and recalibrating. That's probably the best word I can use. Recalibrating and cleaning up. And
does it feel like an energy healing when she was delivered that surgery? Yeah. So you lie on a massage bed of some form, and then she will have her hands on you, or in mid-air or something.
It might have been like above body work, as we call it. So not actually on the body. And then there was not a lot of on-body work, but there was some, but most of it was above body. And I could feel the sensations of stitches.
Really?
Yeah, so this is going back in time. Wow, that's a long time ago. And so when recently a client said, "Oh, you're my crystal psychic surgeon, clean me up," and I was reminded of that experience. Now, my client didn't go into detail about the actual sensations that she felt, but what was interesting was that she used those words. And so sometimes when I have a client on the table, if they've had an operation, in the physical that didn't maybe go so as planned, or maybe there's still residual pain, or there's still complications there, we'll call in the energy of, let's say, an ascended master who was on the physical plane, who was an incredible surgeon, and who is now in the etheric realm, still there for us to call on that energy of being able to clean up on the physical plane that which is, needing attention, really right down to a DNA level. So we can call that energy in, and it's like calling on aspects of our own self, because we are all connected to that energy. And using that energy to come into the body and just really realign, recalibrate, and clean up whatever needs to be cleaned up. And it can feel quite liberating. It's almost like you can see and feel the cells vibrating differently when you're in that energy.
Yeah, I mean, I had many energy healing experience, so I know the sensation when there's energy being balanced, or you just feel there's some sensation or pulsation in the body. But I'm sure it's one of the most commonly asked questions. So how would you explain to people, let's say someone is new here, that what energy healing is, what it is to you, like, and how does it work?
Good question, Seeming. For me, energy healing is about calling in the energy that makes us alive, be alive, the energy that birthed us. That's the energy that runs through all of us. It's the energy that we have full access to more and more of, if only we call upon it. So it's about turbocharging the energy that we work with every day to be alive, and directing that and asking the body, hey, here it is, go do the work, because our bodies know exactly what we need and where to put this energy, if you like. So when I can bring more energy in for my client, it's their body that then goes, okay, we've got a bruise tension over there, our liver's a bit sluggish, we ate too much food last night, whatever is going on, the body knows where to put that energy. So it's like just throwing open the doors and going, okay, the cleaning crew are here. That's a good one. I haven't used that before. Oh, I cracked myself up. So yeah, the cleaning crew are here, and here is the energy that I need to really be more refreshed, more revitalized. What's going on, realigning my energy field. It's probably the most natural form of healing without requiring any tools, anything outside of the body. We use the crystals in the healing work to direct the energy and really add that additional layer of resonance. It can really amplify the energy as well in a greater way. So the crystals, while I absolutely love working with them, and I think that's why they respond. There's nothing that we need outside of ourselves to do this work, and we can do it for ourselves. It's just that we've, maybe not been taught or have forgotten how.
Yeah, and for people like myself that have been in this industry or talking to many practitioners and see how people change and transform, I mean, for me, easily resonate to everything you say. And here's the thing, I found the two types of people. So there is like people like me who've been always interested and sensitive to energy, to crystal, to whatever, you name it. So for me, it was really easy to grasp and resonate. And yeah, I'm open to it. It's not everything visible. Love is not visible. Only expression of love is. Same as fear. Fear, you cannot define it, and this is fear. It can't. It's an expression. The same with energy. And we know that energy, once been created, cannot be destroyed, but only be transformed. And there's this. I mean, you cannot see how energy healing works in this sort of very box set definition level, but for people who are open to it or had experience with it, it's sort of like, yeah, we got it. Then there's other type of people, which is like my husband, that he's like, I don't know, like, what is this all about? What is energy healing? I can't see it. It's some people, they would need they need to see it in order to believe it. We are the type that would believe it and we see it. But the thing is that, here's the thing, even the most skeptical people, my husband included, when they're being put on an experience, then they suddenly say, oh, there's something more than what the eyes can see. Because he had actually energy healing before, and sometimes he would feel more, and sometimes like, oh, is it just something that happens like for no reason? Like, they may make excuses to it, and then sometimes we really felt something was like happening, and then they see it and then they believe it. So I often feel there's two type of people. There's some that they will just find it very hard to resonate, and that's okay. Maybe that's not the path to bring balance. For us, it's like, yeah, we got this. So this is interesting, and I'm sure you have met many people that may be like tourists in the non-believer, and the other would just really resonate quickly. And then again, it's all about bringing balance. And then I know one of the things you do, which I found it very interesting, is that you work with your partner to balance the male and female energy. Like, I know that female energy is often more intuitive, or like, we're not saying that this is the rule, but generally the feminine energy, the women tend to be more the receptive one, the intuitive one. The masculine energy often, say the partner, the husband and so forth, could be trying to be more thinking, to reason, to rational. I mean, both are important. And in my book, I also talk about how to balance the two, masculine and feminine, within the relationship and within yourself, as part of your transformation journey that we've all gone through. But I know that you offer this healing with your partner. So tell us a little bit about what, inspire you to do it, and how does it see that it's so powerful and helpful?
Okay. Balance within relationships. Such a great topic, Seewing. I can't wait to read your book. I met Jason almost 3 years ago. He's an Aboriginal man, and the day before we met, I was told that he was going to be going on a bushwalk with a friend to a sacred site up on central coast of New South Wales. It's a site I've wanted to go to for about 10 years. So when this friend told me that she was going, I was like, have I got anything on tomorrow? So there's all these things going through my head. No, I've got nothing on tomorrow. Great, I can go. And then the second she mentioned that she was meeting this young Aboriginal guy that was, coming down the coast to meet her, my whole energy field went absolutely bananas. And I've only felt that maybe a couple of times in my life. So for starters, I was excited about going to this site that I'd never been to. And secondly, I was like, there's something about this guy. Like, what the heck?
She didn't say much about him, did she?
No, nothing really.
No painted CV.
Nothing. I was like, I've got, whoever this person is, I have to meet him. There's a reason why my energy field is going absolutely crazy. So when we met, I mean, what else is there to say? We fell into step beside each other like we'd been doing it forever on this path. And it was like everyone else just disappeared, and we were just there doing what we've always done, just talking and just walking, very mindfully on the earth beside each other. So, yeah, I mean, long story short, we fell crazy head over heels and worked together very, very quickly. What I also recognized was he had a real affinity with crystals that was ignited, around the same time that we met, literally. And he was really excited that I was a crystal healer because he was fascinated with them. And so began his journey of collecting crystals. When I was practicing my healing work, he would often pop in as well. And it was almost like, even if he was on the other side of the country, which is where he was still working until, he finished that job, when he was at work and I was working with someone, I could feel him come into the room and be a presence in the room, standing, holding that masculine space in the room. And at first I thought, I'm just imagining this because I miss him. But it happened more and more, and we would talk on the phone afterwards, and I'd say, it was weird, you came into the room. And he said, yeah, it was funny. It was like I felt like a part of me go there to assist or something with the crystals, And so when a little bit further time went by, he finished that job and was, home with me full time. I said to him, well, there's only one way to find out about this gift that you have with the crystals, and that's to get you hands-on experience with clients. So I invited some of my clients as a complimentary to almost be like a guinea pig and say, look, you've been coming to me for years. You trust me. You trust that I would never bring anyone into the space that I don't, feel very confident and trust implicitly with your journey. I said, we're just going to see how Jace goes with the crystals. I want him to get some practice, feeling the energy of bodies and working with crystals with people other than just myself. So they were, really open to that. And we did a few, and they were all pretty blown away by the energy that Jace was bringing in with me. So Jason was feeling incredibly incredible resonance with the crystals, particularly selenite, which is a whitish crystal that looks like little...
I got it here. I thought for
Yes.
today I have some demo pieces nearby.
It's an incredible conductor. So it's very fine, very high vibration, really, really, really good at conducting energy. So directing energy through the body it's amazing. And his hands would be, you know, as he's working with them, held in a certain place for a certain length of time, and then he'd feel the energy change and he could be able to move his hands to somewhere else and direct. So very obviously he had a huge resonance with the crystals, and is basically has been lit up with these abilities that he's always had, but possibly was waiting for it to be the right time for him. So he's had, you know, quite a journey in his life, and has had a lot of very big, you could call spiritual experiences, and what in his culture would be called initiations, spiritual initiations. So instead of being, you know, taught by someone in the physical how to be a medicine man, what has happened for him is that he's had these great initiations or awakenings that has allowed his energy field to carry this energy that he then brings to people. So in the room as a medicine man, and me as a medicine woman, as I've been called, together we can help our clients really hold them in the space of just pure unconditional love, where all healing is possible. The energy that he also brings to the room, which is very, very special, is he's able to really unlock the healing for trauma for a lot of generations. So we talk about transgenerational trauma, and it's it's quite a topical thing at the moment. It's for generations, up to 6 generations, you can store the trauma in your DNA for 6 generations past. So Jason has this real gift of being able to unlock and start to heal that through the person that's on the table, but also through their timeline. So that's really, really precious. And so for us, it's a real honor to work together to bring this space of unconditional love to people, to allow their healing to happen. And the balance of the masculine and the feminine is that people feel really safe and very much like they can almost be free to balance their own energy field just by having that real equal space of masculine feminine in a room.
I'm curious, do many of your clients come to your dual practitioner experience tend to have common issues? Were they often coming for healing because they may be having problems with the relationships or health issues? I mean, do you see any pattern or common theme?
I see a few themes, actually. Sadly, a lot of our clients have actually experienced quite a lot of abuse in their life, really, really personal abuse. So that's something that honors both of us hugely. And I'm getting emotional talking about that. I think the greatest honor is to work with people on their deepest trauma. And
but I can see intellectually, because one thing I wanted to say, but I wanted you to finish earlier before, was, I mean, when I write the book, Goddess with Many Faces, obviously I got a lot of ideas from Joseph Campbell. He talked about medicine man, about man initiation, the rite of passage. And I think it's different for men and women. Men often have to have initiations through something almost more dramatic. I mean, modern world, to become a man, it's not just you turn 18 and go and get drunk. You have to something happen in your life that mature you emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. Women is a little bit more held by the biology side of things, because you became a woman partly because your body helped you to get there, and also your hormones. So when you talk about initiation, I already sense that, that's really powerful, because to become a medicine man, especially in the world, Joseph Campbell, they talks a lot lot about different rituals, especially with Jason's background. I'm sure he had a different type of rite of passage, but, that really takes a maturity and really spiritual experience to get there. And then when a woman it's mature and a man it's mature, they both had done the rite of passage. When they come together, it's in a balanced way. And I can imagine your healing, it's bringing that to balance masculine and feminine energy. And that's when you say, I start to feel it really makes sense when your client feels safe, especially if they were abused, because often those energy were not balanced. It was probably very one-sided. I see that a lot. It's not just about, and I talk in the book as well, it's not just about in relationship, that the male and the female, which carry the predominant masculine and feminine energy. But within ourselves, we also have both energy. We use the masculine energy to go and do things, to be rational, to be reasonable, to go and do. But the feminine energy, the intuitive, the being, we also have to have the inner balance, and then in the relationship. So there's a lot of levels that you touch on with a dual healing, which I think that's why it's so powerful. But then when you said, people feel safe, then I realized that safety feeling, it's a sense of balance, harmony, peace, because you two help to hold that energy on the space. Because for people who are unfamiliar with energy healing, maybe there's just, I don't get it. But then when people have experienced once, they understand that feeling of balance, because you feel at peace. If you don't feel good and at peace, then something isn't right. And it is something that we're discussing in a very intellectual way, but until you experience it, it's very hard to describe. And that's the thing, that often we have to intellectualize it to communicate. But experience is different. I mean, when you feel emotional, it's because what we're talking about in the intellectual level light up some of the memories that you have with your client, which an actual experience for you. And that brings that up, and it's vice versa. What you and Jason do to the client must be moving both ways. I mean, it's alchemical for both parties, because, that's an experience itself. You can't intellectually, translate it. So I think it must be very powerful. So abuse, so I feel that's something, maybe balancing the masculine and feminine energy for sure. What else? Like, is it other common theme as well?
Yeah, lots of anxiety, financial stress at the moment, depression as well, which feels different to anxiety. I know a lot of times we tend to lump them into the same basket, or depression, anxiety, but they feel very different in the energy field. So we always treat that slightly differently. And what happens is, with a lot of those conditions that are, let's call it invisible. So rather than someone coming with a sore knee, but the conditions that people come in with, where it's either trauma or anxiety, depression, where, it's all going on inside. It's not necessarily visible on the outside. What happens is that we tend to be able to lift a lot of that out of the energy field, a lot of the weight of those conditions, so that people are able to be clearer in their mind, and then make the appropriate decisions for their care, whatever that might be, that we're able to give them some clarity. And I think that's really important, because when you're in the fog of stuff, sometimes it's really hard to see what the next step is for me, or what are the best decisions that I could be making for myself right now. So what else do we see?
I really resonate what you say, because all the theme that you talked about, or people having needed to get help with, are very fear-based symptoms, right? Not symptoms, I shouldn't say symptoms, but they come from a frame of mind that has fear, and then it will, through time and different experience, then it will become, say, anxiety attack, or, problem with anxiety. And it all comes from fear, thoughts, or experience that give them a fearful experience. And then when, say, they have a good healing, when that's lifted up, when you no longer think with fear, if you think with love, or just not fear. I mean, I do believe the opposite of fear is love. So if you don't think about things that are fearful, the chances are you will have more time and energy to think about loving thoughts or positive thoughts. So I think when the healing had taken place, then the people in a place where they can think about something more joyful, more loving, more positive, then, chances are they will, maybe I really should deal with my sore knee now. You know what I mean? Like that translate into something they will take on. So that's why, like, I do find a lot of these invisible work are very powerful. It's just that because people can't say this is the sore knee or bleeding, stop the bleeding, then I believe that's have value in it. But that's not the case, you know.
Yeah.
So what I really love, like what you said about what you two do, and but what is the biggest challenge you have experienced? I mean, okay, so for people who are inspiring to be a healer or working in natural therapy, they will think, oh, that sounds so good. But then, you know, give us some tips. Say if someone who wants to embark on a journey to become a healer or practitioner, what would be your advice for them? Say.
This is an excellent question, Suing. I'm so glad you asked this question. Seriously, the most important thing, if you're doing energy work or as a healer, working as a healer, you have to do your own energetic work. I cannot stress this enough. You have to be rock solid in your own energy field, because you need to be so stable and so strong in your energy field that you can hold whatever your client brings. But more importantly, as we learn in first aid, you have to look after yourself first. You have to put that oxygen mask on first and then look after your client. If you're not in tip-top energetic shape, you will literally deplete yourself and end up unwell. So fabulous questions. So things I do for myself, I ground regularly, and grounding literally just means connecting with the earth. So walking outside, putting my bare feet on the ground every single day without fail, even if it's freezing cold, really being grounded and connected into Mother Earth. She is our most powerful resource that we have on the planet for our own well-being. So connecting in with her daily. Meditation. I also use mantra because it changes my energy field. It changes the way I vibrate. It's very strong for me. Lots of water, filtered water. I also, I'm also very conscious of what I'm eating in terms of, lots of fruit and vegetables. I'm vegetarian, and I don't say everyone has to be a vegetarian, but I'm conscious of whatever I'm eating, that it's the right thing for me at that time. So energy work, really important, and have regular healings too. I know, when you're starting out your own healing business, you think, no, I don't have the money for it's a luxury to look after myself. No, it's not. It's really not. A lot of the times when we start out, we'll have other people that are also studying or starting out their own business, and maybe there's someone you can do swaps with for a certain period of time until you make the financial decision that you're going to operate on a service model any longer. So have healings. The other challenge that is important to note when running your own practice is to have a clear sense of boundaries around your clients and their care in terms of how much you're giving. When you start out, you just want to give everything, and you want to spend so much time with your clients and check in with them all the time. And there's a fine line where they can then become friends. And that's really beautiful because you're giving so much. But you also, like I said, you have to look after yourself, and you have to have your own space and your own part of your life where it's just for you. So if you find that things are encroaching too much on your space and time, I'm not speaking from experience because this hasn't happened, but you might become resentful of the work that you love doing because it's taking too much of you. So that could just be a really good, line in the sand to draw before you even begin, or in early days, around how much you're available to the world.
Love it. I love all your tips because, Shelley has been doing this for a long time, and she has been very honest about her experience as well. And I think those are really good tips. And I have to say, through observation, a lot of people who are wounded or in pain got attracted to healing work because that helped them. And that's very, many great healers come from that sort of starting point. But the problem is that, if you're still in lots of pain, if you are not if you haven't get over it, then because you feel resonate with it and you want to become a healer, sometimes it doesn't take overnight. I mean, sometimes we can course may give you some tools, but actually it would take, I don't know, a decade. I mean, it would take time for you to, even though you're extremely gifted and you already have all the sense and sensibility when you were little, it still takes time to build up a practice for both the way how you treat clients, the way how you treat yourself and prepare yourself, ethics, but skill, techniques, and there's a lot of practice and experience needed in between. So even you may have done a weekend course, it would take time to build that up. And so two scenarios, if people say they come from a situation, they were hurt, so they got attracted to healing, and then they wanted to be a healer, but then they do it all too fast and they haven't done their own proper healing, or they are like not maintaining and monitoring it because they're so busy about sorting other people's problems out. And also they wouldn't be able to really do what Shelley had been talking about, the keeping really a good boundary and nurturing yourself while also nurturing others. So you cannot give what you don't have. So that takes years of practice. And so what it may seem like you can read it from some sort of guidebook anywhere, but what Shelley has said to us is actually really years of experience and observation. And I can tell because, I know you, and for people who don't know, you can't see from the screen, but Shelley had the most sparkling eyes. It's like, it's real. And I do believe if you do, okay, so that may sound shallow to some people, so I'm sorry if that's offend anyone, but I do personally feel if you work with a spiritual healer practitioner, there's something about the aura that you felt, wow, there's something about them that are attractive, or I don't know, like for Shelley's case, I would say she's very sparkling, her eyes, and she got this aura around her that you felt, that she seems to be a good healer. Like she just looks so clear. Okay, that's why it's someone who showed up and who's like really tired and really like that. Clearly, they are not holding the space for themselves, and how are they going to hold it for you? Or, in another scenario, they go to like a financial seminar, and then the person look completely disorganized and have nothing to show for in terms of financial stability. Then it doesn't seem right. That's just an example. But I'm saying what Shelley was talking about is really like I can see her all these years, that the way how she look like that sounds shallow, but it shows how someone may look after themselves so they can look after you. That's an important thing, whether you're learning when you're shopping for a teacher or you are going for a healer. I think it makes sense,
Yeah.
And just people can't see Shelley's eyes, but in real life, they're really clean and clear. Seriously. So I don't know. Do people tell you that?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think on my show, I'm brutally honest and have awkward sense of humor sometimes, but like it's true. Like if you look at a healer, if they don't look like a healer to you, like you should think about it twice. But have you heard yourself? We've probably gone through a period that you want to try many different modalities in different healers. Have you seen healers that you're like, whoa, I'm not going there, or like doesn't feel right?
Oh.
Or you may not sign up for it, but you being in the field for so long, what exactly I'm talking about.
Yes,
right?
I do. I totally know what you're talking about. Yeah, I had to think about it for a second, but yes, I do completely know what you're talking about, Seeming. And you can see it not only in person, but you can see it through a video or like, on photographs or whatever. You can see their energy. That's something fascinating. Jason just recently has started to see symbols and like animal spirits and ancestors come through in people's photographs and on their faces. So
Wow.
Healings now, he's see a lot more coming through for people. So that's been like so exciting for him because it's like his vision's really opening up.
Well, people have many different gifts, but I guess what I'm trying to say, and also Shelley reinforce it, is that sometimes you really need to use the sense of listen to your heart. If you think this is something that that does it resonate with you? When you're in pain, you just want someone to help you, so you may just go for a phase of, any healer will go. I want to read my oracle cards every day. You want to lie in different healing beds every day, but sometimes you need to really make a call about who do you go to, but also really what's the best thing for you to do. You always have to check in, and what you said before about connecting to the world, being in nature and meditation definitely will help to help people to make that decision.
Definitely.
Yeah. So before we wrapped up, I always ask this question because the theme it is about, women who are doing something I think is really cool for themselves in the world. So now we are no longer 18 years old, right? So we are women of some kind of little experience under our belt. You're not 18, I suppose. So what would you say? Like, okay, so another thing about being in a healing journey that, we may talk about all these really lovely things and experience, but we learn our lessons and experience through many situations, and not all of them happy, joyful. I mean, have to get a deep connection with things too. Um, so looking back, what would you say to your 18-20 self after, going through everything you have done? What would you say to her, to younger self?
This is such a good question. And it's funny, I think everyone should really reflect on this every now and then. I would probably say to myself to be more courageous, that I'm really supported in the universe, and to be courageous and just to trust that I'm supported in the universe, in what I'm called to do.
Were you feeling you were playing safe for too long?
Yeah.
Or what was that? Okay.
Yeah. And that's around financial stability in the world, financial security for sure, because I stayed in jobs longer than probably I should have, maybe. I mean, we can't rewrite our history, can we? But
I mean, you learn different things by having different approaches. Yes. I mean, some people have taken deep dive and they wounded badly, and then they learn their lessons. And then some people who are like you take it really transition very carefully. You may think you need more courage now, but then you learn your lessons differently. So it's hard to say, but be more courageous. I thought you were very courageous. I mean, all these things that you said that you have experienced, but everyone have different things to say to the younger self. But so courageous. So are you more courageous now in your life, you think? You're going to take more risks?
Oh my gosh, I'd like to.
Are you more adventurous?
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Well, but what about what you talk about your meeting with Jason? I thought it was quite fascinating because some people do have that feeling, like not necessarily love at first sight. I think we talk about something deeper than that. You felt this very deep resonance with a person when you met him, but that sounds courageous to me too. Like to allow yourself to explore that connection. Like not just to play safe all the time. And yeah. So do you think you're more courageous now? Maybe.
Well, yeah, you're right. Because meeting Jason was a courageous step. I could have ignored it and not gone. And I mean, it's funny because I feel like there was destiny at play for the two of us to meet forever, because he grew up on an island off the coast of where I lived with my grandparents when I was, I don't know, like 8, 9 or something, 10 years old. And we would go down to this, point on the water, and we would take dinner and we would eat our dinner there. And I would always sit with my, facing the island. So my grandparents would face me across the table, looking with their backs to the island. I would always sit there looking at that island, and I knew there was something there for me. It was like something was just drawing my energy over there the whole time. And that's where Jason grew up.
Wow. What a romantic movie opening scene right there. But
always meant to meet. But yeah, I did make a courageous decision that day to go meet him, and from there continued being courageous around it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I kind of love it. I mean, it's an amazing story when you compare notes that you were, living there. And sometimes it happens to, like, also for those who haven't heard enough of the story of how I met my husband. I actually met my husband a long time ago, but I just wasn't paying attention, like, in that way. Like, you just don't see it. Like, universe is a way of how to play things out, but you have to take your action and make your choice. And then once you do, then suddenly things become clear. But before that, it's all fog. And even though the person's right in front of you or around the corner, you don't get that. You just don't get around that corner. And if people who maybe I don't know why I talk about relationship things a lot today, but sometimes we just don't make that right decision to say leave the bad relationship or move to a better place or whatever. You don't get to that corner. You know, the guy is right behind that, but you just don't get there. And it is really interesting. Or in my case, he was there for a year. I know his existence, but I don't know his existence at the same time, you know. So, and you knew Jason when you were 8 in a way that you were in very close proximity, but you never, you know, that feeling you still remember. So there must be something, you know, there that, you know, eyes can't see, but
yeah, again, back to the invisible
universal plan. Yes. So maybe a topic for today, I should conclude with that we live in an invisible world. So anyway, but thank you so much, Shelley, for sharing your experience and answering all my weird questions. And so if people are interested to learn more about your healing, your therapy, and so forth, maybe try one of those dual practitioner experience. So tell us about your website and where people can find you. What's the website?
Physically, we're located on Sydney's Northern Beaches, and our website is www.divinebalance.com.au, with divine being spelt with the I, not the E.
I didn't know there's different ways to spell it. Okay,
Yeah.
divinebalance.com.au.
With an E now, so you'll find us with the I. And
2 dolphins, by the way. There are 2 dolphins there.
Yep. You can make bookings on the website, or you can just call, whichever's easiest.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Shelley, for today. And I hope this conversation may help or, you know, give people some information and perspective. So thank you so much.
Thank you.